It's a privilege and a pleasure to welcome a fellow who's been on with us here right from the very beginning. Doesn't seem that long ago, but Jason Quigley has now moved into the Bob Arum role in Irish boxing, shall we say. But Jay, it's great to have you back on, mate. You've survived the weather, you've survived pretty much anything the island can throw at us this year, and you're looking forward to a big event.
Yeah, look, thanks for having me back on, that. It's a pleasure. And yeah, exciting times ahead now for sure. We're going rumbling the hills, the rising stars coming up now, October 18th. An action-packed card full of undefeated prospects that are growing, progressing, and looking to get to the next level in their career. And this is kind of the stage as well where I'm looking to get to that next level in the management and promoting side of it now as well, with the likes of these shows down the line in the future. You want the lads that's on the card right now defending, fighting for titles, making a name for themselves, homegrown talent, that their family, their friends, their supporters can all travel to without any major flights or hotel expenses, everything like that. Something a little bit more local, but down the line, I plan on building this and growing this into something very, very big, and a show that every fighter will want to be on.
Before we jump into that part of it, Jay, if you don't mind, and I don't want to make you sound old, but it's 2 years since the last one, and you gave it your all, and you probably showed some chinks in Edgar Berlanga that probably showed a few others the way forward. Ultimately, it didn't work out for you, but there was never any announcement, and I'm not going to ask you for any announcement. I think I've been around this game for long enough to know when lads will and when lads won't. But talk to us, I suppose, looking back on your own career. It's incredible to think it's 2 years ago since that. Is it 2 years in June? I think. Am I right in saying?
2 years and 4 months there to be precise.
Approximately.
I- I'm not counting or anything, but
No.
no, yeah. Look, it's been nearly 2.5 years now. You could say coming up, that my last fight there against Berlanga. And yeah, look, hey, it's one of those ones where you never like to get beat, you never like to get defeated. But look, I give it my absolute all that night, and we had a massive crowd over from Ireland. There was a massive crowd from Puerto Rico, New York, everything in there in the night. It clashed well. The atmosphere was amazing, and looking back on it, I give it absolutely everything. Um, there was a couple of knockdowns in that fight that maybe weren't knockdowns, could have made the scorecard a little bit closer. Don't know what way it would have went, but at the end of the day, there's no excuses. There's nothing like that. Berlanga came away the winner on the night, and I suppose I was happy to a certain extent with my performance and everything. But at the end of the day, you don't like it getting beat or getting defeated. It's not what doesn't sit well with us fighters, and it's just a part of the game. But yeah, it's been a while now since that one. Sometimes it feels like the 2.5 years. Sometimes it doesn't feel like a 2.5 years.
Yeah.
But look, it is what it is, and I have another great ambition now and another great hunger to be successful in boxing, but just maybe not fully inside the ropes now. A little bit more outside the ropes with fighters and promoting.
There was a couple of things always that I miss. Listen, as a boxing geek and a boxing fan, there's so many things there from Jason Quigley right back to the amateurs, and I think it's fair to say you were one of the first to bare your soul, to bare your heart on your sleeve, and we'll always remember those scenes after the Worlds. And I think it's become a rarity now, and I think we saw that a little bit again after that loss to, was it Johnson? And I think I remember the conversation, you were on a show with Andy, and I remember thinking it was the first time I can recall, and it feels like to me it was a crossroads in boxing where a loss was becoming, it was getting to the point where it wasn't the end of the road anymore, if that makes sense, where all of a sudden, and Andy was able to talk about the Brian Vera loss, and I remember that. So I remember thinking, I remember being down in the dumps for so long after Andy lost to Vera. I remember thinking, why, like? And now you guys, it felt like, and it feels like now, not that it isn't a big deal now, but it is, but there's plenty of life and there's plenty of room to rebuild and regrow afterwards. And I think, is it fair to say you guys showed the way, and there's a new crop now coming through that are starting to listen, put it in, but at the same time, it's not the end of the world. We go again if the best doesn't come out and it doesn't work out for the best.
Yeah, I don't know. Is it the Mayweather effect or something? Along
Yeah.
protecting that O and everything, and I think the opportunities are out there a lot more now as well. Like with Turkey on board and everything like that. Like you see lads going out there now taking massive fights. Obviously, they're getting well paid for it, but they get defeated, and that's okay. They come back and they're ready to go in another big fight again,
Mm.
and of course, a defeat is can be crucial to a man's drive, to a
Morale.
man's confidence, to a man's ambition, and it can hurt. It can really hurt,
Yeah.
and I think the most important thing is how do you turn that hurt into something positive then and come back from it is the key, and it's not easy to do that, but it's something that never leaves you. Like when you get into that ropes and through those ropes and you end up fighting a man like there's nothing more raw or I don't know what the word I'm looking for the words like back in the Stone Age, like there's nothing more.
Primal.
Yeah, like
That-
just getting in there and two men, no weapons, no nothing, two fists, and just trying to become out the best man. And it's hard to take as a man to walk out there the loser, but it's something that I think we've grown to learn to deal with, in terms of we can right that wrong, we can come back from that, we can be successful again. And I think that's the most important thing that young fighters have to look at now is there is opportunities out there. Sometimes a loss can be, especially in my amateur career, a couple of losses that I had in my career were massive to my success that drove me on. Like
yeah.
if I had a won all those national elite finals that I got into at the start, would I have been as resilient? Would I have been as resilient or as strong minded and as determined later on in my career? Maybe, maybe not. Nobody knows, but I like to look at it in ways of those losses where they were important to me in my career.
Well,
And
listen, for
you
anybody that's new, for anyone that's new to the show, and for anyone that hasn't had the previous episode we did, you just need to look back at Jason's. Sometimes the biggest battle for Jason, and it proved to be so. The year you won your world silver medal was getting out of Ireland. We had the likes of Blaney, we
mm,
had Eamon Kane, we had Roy Sheen, we had these fellas who were all at each other's throat, all right at each other, and it was literally they were the most amazing nights, and I'm getting goosebumps here remembering those nights in the National Stadium because they
yeah,
truly were spectacular. And not to get into any sort of negativity or anything else. It's been diluted a little bit now. It is what it is now. It's a new version of a different thing. But those were just truly special nights, and they were truly special fights. And it was no surprise any of you guys that did get out and then go box in the WBS or any of those. It was almost like the shackles were off. You could do anything once you got
yeah,
those lads off your tail, wouldn't you? Blaney
yeah. It
often reminds
was.
me how his great wins were. Blaney always reminds me how his big nights and his great wins were against you. So I don't know how true that is.
Well, his biggest nights might have been against me, but they were never winning against me.
There you go, Chris Blaney. The challenge is down. We got to get you back to defend yourself.
He can't be throwing out things like that now. Though I'm not a man to. You can look up the record books yourself and see who was the victorious, but I don't think I had him that hard that he forgot who won the fight.
That could be the Navin coming out in him. It's a bit like Cliff. The Navin comes out in him when you scratch it. You don't have to scratch the surface too much.
Nah, Chris,
But
Chris is a great lad. Hey, we had many good battles together in the national
yeah,
championships, and I fought him as well on one of my home shows as well up here in
okay.
Donegal. So yeah, nah, Chris is a good lad. Hey, good lad. We had a good few battles together now, and yeah, it was stacked. The middleweight division for years has always been, Ireland's kind of cream of the crop. I think a few times
Mm,
where like you had the likes of, I think it was Kenny Egan at the start. Then Kenny moved up to light heavy. Then you had Andy. Then you had Darren Sutherland. Then you had Darren
absolutely.
O'Neill. Then you had myself. Then you had Michael O'Reilly.
Yeah,
It continued to just like every one of those fighters went on and achieved Olympic, world, European honors. Like there was none of those fighters that and it always took one of them to topple the other,
Mm.
or one couldn't topple the other. Like Andy, Darren Sutherland could never topple Andy, and then once Andy left, Darren Sutherland took over. Darren O'Neill could never topple Sutherland.
And
Once
the good
Sutherland
guy and the
left,
bad guy
O'Neill
in
took
each of those
over.
battles as well. Which
You
were you? Were you
know,
the good guy or the bad guy in any of your battles?
I was Darren O'Neill never left. I was the one though. I did get the better of Darren O'Neill.
I'm really
Then
stirring the pot here this morning.
after I beat Darren, now after I beat Darren, that was a big one for me because I think it was
Yeah,
3 4 years in a row the man beat me in national finals, RTE. Those are hard to take, and those are things that that you have to use as fuel. To bring you to the next level. And thankfully, I was able to get one over Darren in the national championships and push on, and it really did just put me to another level. So it did. Like, I went on and achieved everything that I did achieve in boxing. But Darren was an unbelievable fighter. A tough operator. Like, he was
yeah,
hard to topple. Like, so he was. And that year, like, you had Darren O'Neill, you had Roy Sheehan, you had Conrad Cummings, you had Chris Blaney. You had every one of those lads. You could have
was
turned
there,
around
no.
to could won it. Like, so it was a good year to win it. Yes. And look, I'm grateful for those lads all being in my weight as well, and being part of it, because it just made it even more special then to come out on top against a great bunch of fighters.
Something that team had, Jay, and something that I can see carried through your career was an affability. There was a chance, and maybe it was because there was more access to the team. Like Kenny's paved the way. You had a phenomenal captain, but you had a little bit of everything. You had the bad guy in the team who was a joker in the team. You had the tough guy in the team, but there was always something that somebody could relate to. And I think it's fair to say Irish boxers have always had that. Whether he was a grumpy old this or that or the other, or whether he was a joker like Roy, or whether he was a comedian like Eric, or you just didn't know what you were going to get. And but it carried all the way through. And I think I don't know, is it missing at the moment? Is it just that the access is not there? But I think from an Irish standpoint now, there seems to be a pressure now to deliver. It seems like when they go into pros, and Jamie Conlon famously told me, and he really wisely put it, he said, amateur boxing and pro boxing is like pool and snooker. And I think a lot of the fans now, there's such a buy-in, and there's such a 24/7 coverage of boxing right now. I think people, the casual fans, they miss out on that. Or if someone is transitioning from another combat sport, or from another defense, self-defense, or whatever it is they want to call, even coming across from white collar, they just assume it's going to happen automatically. But it's a vast transition, isn't it? And it's something that you guys took a while to adjust to as well.
Yeah, I think especially, it was very difficult coming from the computer scoring system, in the professional boxing, because it was like
That's how
fencing
bad it is.
nearly. It was like, you were just touching your opponent to get that score and getting out of there. Like, there was, like, after 3 rounds, there was no doggedness really in that. It was a lot more skilled, that 3 3-minute rounds over computer scoring, than an 8 10 12 round fight in professional boxing. Like, professional boxing, you got to grind your opponent down. You got to break them down. You gotta change your game plan a couple of times throughout the fight. Maybe you get knocked down, you get a cut. Whereas in 3 rounds, it's over before you know it.
Yeah,
Jamie hit the nail on the head there. What he said was like, it's like pool and snooker, and I always explained it. I've never heard that side of before being explained, but I always explained it as like 100 meter sprint in a marathon. Like,
yeah,
in the amateur boxing, you get in there, it's da 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 da. Everybody's quick, fast, boom, boom, boom.
yeah.
Whereas the professional boxing, I remember sparring pros when I was amateur, and I would only do 3 or 4 rounds of them, and I get out thinking, these guys, like, Jesus, I've boxed years of them. But these guys only, there was another two lads stepping in after me. Like,
Mm,
these lads are just building into a fight, working into a fight, and
yeah.
now I see where it was. Back then, maybe it was good. Like, I felt like, geez, I'm flying off boxing ears of some of these pro guys, but they're only getting into it. They're just easing their way into the fight, like a 10 12 round fight should be. But yeah, look, it's a massive transition. I think it's getting a lot more easier now because of the way that amateur boxing's going. It's gone to the 10-9 computer, or the 10-9 scoring system. People are starting to set down on their punches a little bit more. They're starting to fight a little bit more, which is good. So yeah, look, it's two completely different sports, but at the end of the day, no matter what, you got to hit your opponent more than he hits you, and that's the name of the game.
We could use a GA analogy and say it's a little bit like Jimmy and the Donegal lads training for the All Ireland. They're only getting going when the rest of them are gone out of it, so they're trying to grow into the latter stages of the championship. But
That's it. There
that's
you
really
go.
kissing. That's really kissing ass here. Now I'm really selling my soul here. Now I'm doing a Sonny Edwards on it. But I suppose to look back at the bigger and to come back onto what we're talking about here, and the big plan is for yourselves. Not long after, or was around the same time, you had teamed up with two lads I've spoken to here, Ken and Lyle from Sheer Sports, two fantastic fellas who I got in
Mm.
contact through the great Rachel Charles. Rachel did amazing stuff for me, and she was able to put me in touch with. She's moved on to doing her own thing now, but they're fantastic fellas. And I think it was Lyle once described as boxing as ballet with gloves. And I thought about it for a
Mm.
minute, and I thought, wow, is that a? And then the more I thought about it, I was like, it's a bit out there, but you're
Yeah,
not
yeah,
far off
yeah,
it.
yeah.
But all these years later, now you're teamed up with Cheer Sports, and can you tell us a little bit about that without, I suppose, taking too long of your time? But how did that? You would have worked with the lads over your own career, and then the investment and the buy-in now is shining a light on the talent here and the next gen that's coming down the line.
Yeah, so the way that was, Sheer has been my management from day one. They signed me from my pro debut, and I've been with them ever since. They have been great, loyal, supportive, and don't want to be cheesy, but it's kind of been like a family relationship,
Yeah, they very
and
much are. Now
really
they really are.
really looked after me, really helped me out in every way possible. Yes, they were new to the professional game. They were still learning the professional game as well when I got on board. But now they have really grown and got themselves to such a great place in boxing. And I'm very honored and privileged to be able to step into business now with them. I've part owner in the company now with them and running the European side of Sheer Sports. So it's fantastic to be able to step into this role. Um, After boxing, it's something that not a lot of fighters get that opportunity to be able to, step into something but stay in the game as well, because when boxing it's been part of your life for so long, it's very difficult and hard, just to walk away and to start a whole new venture or a whole new
Yeah,
environment. I'm very lucky that I have this opportunity, and delighted and hungry and determined to be successful in this role now as well. And it's exciting times. We have a great team behind us. Obviously, still Ken and Lyle there. And you said Rachel was a big part of Sheer Sports back then and has moved on to her own
yeah.
thing now. But we have Roberto Diaz on board now as well.
What a
You
guy!
know who
What a guy!
who's been he's really been a true friend and like family
Yeah,
to me as well throughout the years with Golden Boy. He was Golden Boy's matchmaker, but did a lot more with Golden Boy as well. And he managed Marco Antonio Barrera back in the day, one of my favorite fighters. And the relationship that myself and Robert have now is just top class. Like, and to be working together now with Roberto, Ken, Lyle, and doing our thing. Like, they're obviously in the States taking care of that. They have a few hands to help them. I'm over here now, and trying to build a team together here as well, with Sheer Sports. But we have a great foundation now in Sheer Sports, breaking in now to Europe and management and promoting. And look, it's exciting times. As I says, very hungry, very determined, and looking forward now to doing great things with the management and promoting now on the side of the water.
yeah. Roberto is a fella who I'm going to put a shameless plug. I'm going to actually chase him down and see can I get him on here. He's a fella that I've admired because in a time in the sport when everybody jumps up and down and says an awful lot to me, as a bit of a geek who watches what lads nearly don't say or don't do, it always spoke louder the way Roberto carried himself. And even in those moments where it was easy and everybody else was jumping up and down, he gives off that aura as being the coolest head in the room. So, and he's
Yeah.
managing a very special friend of mine, managing the course, who you'd be well aware of, Ryan O'Rourke, is a phenomenal talent. And I keep saying this, watch out for that 140, 147 division with the Irish talent that's coming through because there's 4 or 5 of them in and around that weight. And everybody knows of Sean McComb, everybody knows of Pierce O'Leary, but watch the lads that are coming underneath them. We are set. Sheer Sports, I'm going to give you an idea here. You can have this one. If there is an option or an idea for an Irish, if we want to bring Turkey to Ireland, what better way than to bring them for one of those golden tournaments or something like that, in a battle of the 40s or the
140
140s?
division. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Absolutely,
Incredible talent there, and
absolutely.
you'd be well aware of it. But you've always had good people around you, Jay. I'm going to give a plug here to my old pal, and we ring each other every morning to call each other names and to pick each other up and have a laugh. Cliff has done incredible work with you. It goes and falls in line. You've had amazing people like Peter O'Donnell, you've had Chris McNulty, you've had people like that later on in your career, you've had Andy. So you're extending that now into your management career, into your promotional career. It's important in this business, isn't it? It's even more important now in this side of it, I suppose, to have those sort of fellas around you.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I've been very lucky to have I always kind of had a close net around me and good, loyal, supportive people, um, and people that you end up calling your friend. You know, it's always great. And as you says there, you know, you had Peter and Chris and everything from day dot. You know, that has been along in your career, and as you grow on and as you move and progress in your career, you know, different people come on board, and you know, like I've had the privilege of training with so many great people, fighters, coaches, strength and condition, nutritionists, and have made great friends with them all. I've never fell out with any of them, and it's boxing's a great journey, and you know, having the likes of Andy then later on in my career was, you know, massive for me, to be honest. He you know, just so intelligent, so smart, just such a great way about him, and he's been really proving that now in the coaching side of it, doing amazing things like,
Mm.
and you know, it's great to be able to be up in the gym with Andy whenever you want, calling in, and you know, seeing the lads, the stable that he's building and he's growing now, and seeing him doing so well, it's fantastic. And even I have the honor to help him in the corner with Hamza Shiraz that got one over Berlanga.
You
And
got
I
it
want to
back. You
say
got
for
that one
me,
back.
I
Can't
can I
forget.
can kind of use it as I got one back on him, but you know, I didn't really. But Hamza got it over him. But it was good to be a part of that, and
Yeah.
you know, it was great to have that opportunity with Andy and everything, and then you know, moving into more the management promoting side of it, having Cliffy on board there now as well, helping out and doing good things together. It's all about teamwork, you know, and
Yeah.
somebody that has been by my side from day one as well, and you know, does a lot of the work and might never get the credit is the wife herself, April. You know,
Oh,
she's the one that
We can't forget April.
you
And
know,
I
like
promise that there was no fear of me walking you into that trap either. I was that.
yeah, yeah,
We were saving the best for last. The wife and
yeah,
the kids.
no,
Our kids are the most important. And also, I have to give a shout out to my great
absolutely.
pal and somebody who gave me tremendous support and self belief from the beginning. Because when you're coming in from the GAA world and the boxing world doesn't know who you are, it takes a bit of time. But Wayne McCullough has been an incredible friend, and he is a genuine friend to me now. And he was there as well at times too. And when you think about it, when you were able to dip into a think tank like from Andy, who had the likes of Emmanuel Stewart, Wayne had Eddie Futch. I mean, you really were truly blessed to have that kind of support around you at times in your career, and it's special, and it's no surprise that you're able to take that now and build and move forward.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, you know, I've been around a lot of great people. Like, you know, my first coach was Manny Robles over in Los Angeles. Trained Andy Ruiz to beat Anthony Joshua in that famous upset, and then moving over then to Sheffield, the city of steel, with
Dom.
the Ingles. Do you know what I mean? Another great learning curve over there, and a great insight to intelligence, and you know, a different way of boxing and a different way of routine and structure and everything was fantastic. You know, and but like moving in then and having Wayne on board for one or two of my fights, and you know, meeting him for coffees and teas over in Marina Del Rey in California. Like, it was great just to hear that accent, and to have somebody that was able to relate to you from where you've come from, where you've been, to being in the big city of Angels in Los Angeles. Like, I was, as you say, look, I've been very blessed, and then obviously with Andy has been it's been phenomenal. Like, you know, it was, you know, coming to Dublin there and starting to train with Andy, and just kind of brought everything back to the amateur days when I was with the national team. And, you know, me and Andy, we got on from the start, but, after took us a while to really connect and gel, I think, you know what I mean? Like we got on from day one and could connect from day one, but, in terms of like full proper connection and really understanding each other and all that it took a bit of time, but when it came it was special, and it is special,
Yeah.
so look, I'm very privileged to be around some great people, and to still be in talking terms with all of them, because at the end of the day it's a business too, and sometimes people can get on the wrong side of the fence with some things, and especially when you have to part ways, make hard decisions. But I'm very lucky to have everybody still on talking terms and in a friendship. So yeah, no, very very good. Hey.
We're on to October 18th. We got there eventually. You've got an incredible lineup, and again, these are names and something that I get. You know, get myself in hot water sometimes and beating the drum. It's all well and good, and we all love seeing these big shows. We love seeing the Bivol, the Terbievs, and I love talking to John Scully in the build up to those. I love talking to these fellas who have been around it all, and not because I want. It's nothing to do with starstruck or anything else. It's to see how these guys prepare, because these are the elite, the tip of the spear. But what I always remind people is that stars aren't born overnight. You can't just go from being a 10 or an 8 or 10 fight novice to be thrown into a main event, as we call it, or a co-main event in Wembley or in those arenas. What you're doing right now is what Matchroom would have coined the phrase, I suppose, a few years ago of next gen. It's the next generation, and the Rumble in the Hills on October 18th. We've got some fantastic talent. I'm bumped into Kian Hedderman in the point. Well, I didn't bump into him. I'm kind of glad I didn't. But he is an absolute unit of a young fella. The next lad coming out of Limerick, you've got the likes of Callum Bradley, you've got Danny Duffy, Jason Myers. Talk to us, Jason, about that talent and where you've unearthed it, and how and what the process. It's been a long process, but yet it doesn't feel like that, does it?
Yeah, look, it's something that I'm passionate about. I'm young, I'm fresh in terms of management and promoting, and
He smiles when he says that, by the
I'm
way.
very
He's young and fresh.
like, in terms of the management side and the promoting side of it, like it's strange. You look at your professional boxing career, and I'm 34 years of age now, and you're like coming to the end of your career at that stage, whereas you step into a different role, and you're right away, you're young, you're fresh, you're new to it at 34 years of age. So look, I'm very excited about it. There's phenomenal talent, as you said, on the card. It is full of talented fighters. You get fighters out there that are 5, 6, 7, or 8-0, excuse me, and that never really, just kind of turn pro and give it a go and had a few easy wins and stuff like that. But you look at these fighters on this card, every one of them has national titles. Every one of them have represented Ireland at a decent level. Do you know what I mean? They're all undefeated as a pro. They all can box. Do you know what I mean? They all have a great style. They're all talented. And trust me when I say this, like, these are the next stars that are coming through from Irish boxing. Like, you are going to see some champions out of this card that's happening on October 18th in the future, and most definitely, these fighters can go on and achieve massive honors in boxing, and my plan and my ambition is to really help them get to that level, to put themselves on the map, and to give them that platform to be able to showcase what they've got. And this is their opportunity now to continue and to grow, and this is their platform where they can jump into the ring and they can put on a show, perform, do well. Going to be live on Triller TV worldwide. Do you know what I mean? So it's getting themselves out there, and some of these fighters are going to be coming back to Letterkenny, coming back to Donegal, and fighting for titles here. And this is one of the real molds that I want to break. Is like, you hear of Donegal, you hear of Letterkenny, you don't associate professional boxing, big nights of boxing there. It's always
You might
Dublin,
think of you might think
Belfast.
of Rory Gallagher. Rory Gallagher and Ballyshannon
Yeah,
or Rory and
exactly. Do you
Rory
know, like
Gallagher. So who
it's
gives
all
them a new ring? You know?
GAA.
Yeah.
Do you know, it's all GA up this neck of the woods, and that's fantastic. We love the GA up here, but it's about relating professional boxing, big nights of professional boxing in Donegal, in Letterkenny, because the venue's great, the production that we put up is great. You know, it's going to be a fantastic night of an amazing atmosphere. The people up here, were tickets are flying out. Like we had to open up another 110 tickets on a couple of days ago there in the venue because people are just mad to get out at it and mad to get there and watch it, and you're going to be seeing some of these fighters now for the first time and going along their journey with them and seeing them get to that next level. So look, it's exciting, top class talent that can go all the way in boxing, and they're starting their career here. They're going to come back here and fight for titles, win titles, defend titles, and they're going to make a name for themselves here, and it's going to be a fantastic night of boxing.
There's a buy-in and a trust, Jason, that there was with you because they know the local people up that end. Willie Mack has told me many times over the years that you're something of a celebrity up in Donegal, and it has to be seen to believe. So we will see that on October 18th. But there's a trust there as well. They know when you put your name to something or you put your work. I mean, the welcome you got back from that fight with I think it was with Mosley Jr. I mean, it was incredible. It really was incredible, and that's special. So to be able to tap into that and to get the support of the home people, Donegal people are a special brand. That once you can understand their language and you can understand their dialect, they're an incredible people. And I always, as soon as I think of Donegal, one of the first people I think of is Peter O'Donnell. Just the most special person you could ever meet in your life. A genuine good guy. Before I leave you go, two things. There's a special movement. There's a big movement going on in the world of boxing at the moment, and I don't know. Experience tells me sometimes this change happens. We've seen change promise. We've seen, but the latest thing at the moment is Dana. We've got Zuffa. We've got 360. We've got all that pathway. We've got a big shop window for fighters. I suppose to if you shouldn't need any extra incentive if you really want to do and buy in the way you guys did. Well, then this is it even more. But for any young aspiring fighter, Jason, for any young fighter who is thinking of moving on from the amateur game or who wants to move on, how do they get under Jason Quigley's eyes, and what's the pathway for them or for Sheer Sports, or how would they come to your attention?
I think, you know, obviously first and foremost, like you need to be able to believe in the fighter. You need to be able to see talent that can go the whole way, and not only that, you need to be able to communicate, be able to relate, be able to get on with a fighter. Like I'm in this business to enjoy it as well as much as be successful at it. And I don't want to be, I'm not just because somebody's so talented, so good. If I can't connect with them, if I can't really get on with them, then it's just not going to be a right fit for me or the fighter. And it's not going to be a successful journey because you need to be both on the same page. You need to be able to have a relationship. You need to be able to get on and connect with the fighter. And to me that's very, very important. So, you know, connection is key with a fighter as well before you would put anything to paper with them or sign them up. You know, you need to have a connection with them. You need to be both on the same page, and you know, to be able to really go on a successful journey. It's not all about just what they've won, how good they are, and you know, my connections or anything like that where I can get you to. It's about having that relationship. There's a lot of factors that go along with it, and you know, you'll see that in the fighters that I work with. Like there's not you don't just go and pick any fighter out there and just start working with them for the sake of doing it. You know, for me it's important to be able to have that relationship and connection with a fighter and be able to guide them and grow them through the journey of boxing. But I think it's fantastic, you know, all these different opportunities that are coming for boxing right now, you know, with the likes of Dana and Zuffa Boxing, Turkey, Matchroom, you know, their final Queensbury, you know, because Turkey came on board, money talks, you know.
Yeah,
Frank and Eddie, when was the last time they spoke to each other? When was the last time they got on with each other? Now you see them shaking hands, calling each other, hugging each other, you know, fighting against each other with no real putting both
it's
of
a
their
good thing.
fighters up against each other. Like
It's a bit like years ago, a fight in the school playground, and the principal comes along and grabs the two of you by the ears and almost bangs your heads together and makes you
Yeah,
talk and gives you a reason.
yeah.
And that's exactly what Turkey has done. Yeah, it's incredible, Jason. And listen, what you're doing, what the likes of Jamie is doing, what you're doing, what Jay Byrne is doing, and we seem to have lost that bitchiness. We seem to have lost that. This island is too small for everybody to be at loggerheads, and to be able to see lads cross pollinating and for fighters to move from platform to the next. And Mick Conlan gave me a great mention a couple of weeks ago about that. To be able to bring the likes of Dean Walsh and that and put them on a card with Mick, and then bring them back and put them on a card with you, the same as what you're doing with these lads. It's incredible, and I'd say I can't help wonder sometimes if social media had been there when you guys transitioned from amateur, and if these promoters had been there, it would have been coulda, woulda, shoulda, I suppose. But listen,
For
we're here now, and
for this boxing game to be successful, especially in Ireland, everybody needs to work together.
yeah,
Everything needs to be put
and
to
I
the
think
one
we are, aren't
side.
we? I think we are
A
at the moment
hundred
doing
percent,
that.
a
Yeah,
hundred percent. You know, we definitely are the likes of Jimmy Connon, the likes of Jay Byrne, the likes of myself. There's a lad down there too, Neil Power. You know,
Neil Power
down
down in
in
Waterford. Yeah, yeah,
Waterford. Do you know all these people have to work together and make Ireland. Don't want to be a Donald Trump, but make Ireland great again. Like, do you know what I mean? And
yeah,
really give the opportunity for the fighters, and it is happening. It is working. You know, for
yeah,
me
yeah,
getting into this game, the help and the advice that I've got from other people in Ireland in the same industry as me has been great, and vice versa. You know, anything that I can do to help them as well, you're helping them and growing, because it's too small of a circle to be having enemies or to be not liking this person. Hey, we don't all have to like each other. It's not about us. It's about the fighters.
yeah.
It's about the fighters getting them fights, getting them the opportunities, going to the next level, and making champions. And that's what's exciting about this game. That's what's important about this game. And yeah, I think Irish boxing is starting to get into a really, really good place right now, and it's exciting times for it.
It really is. When I think of when I started in the garden shed about say 5 years ago, and there was a media ban, there was no fighters allowed to talk to anybody. Then there was lockdowns. Then there was all sorts of things. For once, it seems like we have some open road ahead of us. Jason, I'm going to put the links for all the tickets and the lines and everything else in the show notes to this
Lovely.
below. We might even actually. I thought we would put this out as an audio podcast. I think if you don't mind anyone seeing the Udi and everything else on the Saturday morning, we'll stick it
Ah,
out as a
work
video
away,
as well,
lad.
mate,
Work
and
away.
we'll
Yeah,
get
not
people
a
going into
problem.
it. But mate, before I let you go, tell people who are interested in coming along for the last few tickets that are left for Letterkenny. Tell us what they can expect and where they can get their tickets.
Yeah, look, last few tickets are available now for this show, Rumble in the Hills Rising Stars, October 18th, Aura Complex, Letterkenny. Nothing but top class, undefeated Irish talent that's going to be on the event. And you're going to see the next Irish star in this lineup and in this card also. So get your tickets on eventbrite.ie. Contact the fighters themselves individually. Some of them have tickets left as well. Or you can get them anybody locally in Donegal up in the Aura complex. They're available in there as well, so they're physical tickets. So look, going to be a fantastic night of boxing. Rumble in the Hills, Rising Stars on the hills of Donegal, boy.
My God, Eddie Hearn, move over. He did that without taking a beat. The only criticism, the only input I have to add to that is, Christ's sake, man, we got to add some Clannad or Harry's Game or something to the background at this stage, because then it makes it really, it feels like I'm real life. But mate, it's been an absolute privilege and a pleasure to have you back on. We won't leave it as long the next time, and thanks very much for taking your time.
Thank you for having me on, Al, and keep up a great work, lad. You're spreading good things for the Irish boxers and other boxers all around the world as well. So keep it up, lad. It's important for the fighters, and you're doing a great job. Hey, well done.